Behind me is the 2014 Audi S5. For the enthusiast, the B8.5 S5. Back in 2008, Audi released this car. It started off with Audi's signature all-wheel drive system, paired with a gas-guzzling V8 derived specifically from the Audi R8 itself. Now fast forward to 2013, Audi knew they had something special. So instead of revamping and releasing a brand new car, they instead offered a facelift version to their current car. Now, offering a facelift version to a current car is something pretty common amongst automakers. However, still pretty impressive nonetheless, considering Audi kept this car in production from 2008 all the way until 2017. That's 10 years. On a side note, Audi's previous 3 generations of the Audi S4 only lasted 9 years combined. So, back to the car. This car came with a supercharged V6 engine producing 333 horsepower and 325 foot-pounds of torque. Now, this is surprising considering the pre-facelift S5 with the naturally aspirated V8 came with 21 more horsepower. You might be asking, why did Audi do this? Why did they lower the horsepower? Well, you gotta remember, let's take a step back. Audi offers 3 levels of cars. They have their A-line cars, so A4, A5, A6. They had their S-line cars, S4, S5, S6. And then they had their RS line cars, RS4, RS5, R8. They also had the TTRS, but more on that to come later. So, at the time, Audi already had a 4-door manual V8 sports car. They had the RS4. And then they already had a 2-door manual V8 sports car, the R8. So, with Audi's A-line cars targeting luxury and their RS line cars targeting utter performance, that left the S-line to try to become that perfect balance of the two. So for this S5, that meant removing the high-revving V8 from the previous pre-facelift version and replacing with the supercharged V6 that was not only just as powerful, but more refined. This powertrain delivered peak power and peak torque way sooner in the RPM range. Plus, who doesn't love the few extra MPGs it got? In my opinion, I thought this was a win-win. So, enough of the history lesson. Let's move on to things I like and dislike about the car, and overall, is it worth buying? So, starting off in the front, you've got this sleek but sporty front grille with what has to be the best looking logo on the market. Now, on the sides of that, you've got these 2 LED headlights. Coming back, you've got this extremely wide hood that complements that sport factor that much more. On the sides, you've got these beautiful 19-inch rotor style wheels that are not only stunning to look at, but also easy to clean. Moving to the way back, you got, well, you can see, this car is just stunning. Any angle you look at, I mean, this car just looks great. On to the second item that I want to talk about, which is the way that this car drives. Once again, this car has a V6 supercharged engine that just really makes sense. With peak torque coming in at only 2,900 RPM, it doesn't matter what gear you're in. You're going to have plenty of torque without even needing a downshift. Which leads me on to the shifting experience in this car. Now, I've heard great things about the dual clutch transmission, but if you've opted in for what I prefer, which is the 6-speed manual, you're going to be greeted with short, precise shifts with what also feels like a great clutch pedal. Now you've also got practical amenities like hill brake assist, as well as auto throttle blip in first gear when letting off the clutch from a stop. Pairing all this together really offers a recipe for success. And I don't want to exaggerate, I've driven a lot of cars, and the driving engagement on this one is just about as perfect as it gets. So finishing off what I like about this car, the third and final item is its interior. Between the gorgeous yet comfortable leather and Alcantara seats, the incredible Bang & Olufsen sound system, to the use of high-quality materials on every single touch point. This interior really had some hard work behind it. Now, if you're not familiar with Audis, looking at this for the first time can be a little overwhelming. I mean, I thought the same thing, but once you understand all the technology that this car offers, you understand the practicality of all the buttons and their locations just make sense. I mean, this has got to be the first car interior where I use my thumb and ring finger to press buttons naturally. I mean, the layout really becomes easy to navigate once you understand. Now, let's talk about the things I dislike about this car. Just kidding. So, one of the things I really dislike about this car is how heavy it is. So this car weighs in at just over 3,800 pounds, which if you option for the automatic transmission, you would have had 200 extra pounds on top of that. So this car is seriously heavy. But with heavy, you have trade-offs. The downsides being, well, less fuel economy, less acceleration, less handling, especially when you have passengers in the car. Now, on the flip side, you do have better stability, better comfort, better traction, but with anything, there's trade-offs. So I'd like to compare this car to the Audi S4 of this generation, which came in at the exact same weight, but 3 inches longer. Now, if you've opted for the S5, the two-door version, you'd like to think you're getting something a little bit more nimble and a little bit sportier and more compact. Well, really, you're just getting an S4 with 2 less doors. Now, you might be asking, well, why wouldn't you just buy an Audi TT then? That's going to be smaller. That's going to be more nimble. Well, to me, the Audi TT serves its purpose as that flashy, boy racer kind of car, whereas the S5 is the more grown up and more sophisticated version of that. So moving on to the second main item that I dislike about this car, which is the factory options. And no, I don't mean options like, well, which wheels and tires do you want? Do you want the black optics or not? No, what I'm talking about is the creature comfort options that really make or break this car. So under the technology side, you have options such as, well, keyless entry, the Bang & Olufsen sound system, backup camera and navigation, which most importantly, put all of the screen button controls on the center console as opposed to having it above the climate controls. But then there's the mechanical side, where you have options like the adaptive cruise control, the adaptive dampening suspension, the rear sports differential, which, let me say, is really beneficial if you live in a climate that gets snow. It's really frustrating to me to see all of these amazing options with tons of engineering behind them just never get equipped on a car. Also, most of these cars are not custom orders at dealerships, but rather just allocations. This means that when customers come in, they have to pick and choose between vehicles that arrive on the lot, hoping and praying that their must-have options just come factory equipped. So those are all the things that I like and dislike about the 2014 Audi S5. I hope you enjoyed watching, maybe learned a thing or two, and with that, until next time.